Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Mediator with me, Brian West. Start spreading the news. I'm leaving today. I want to be a part of it. The old U.S. Welcome to Mediation with me, Brian West. I give you the top 8 headlines developing news stories. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm spreading the news with joy and cheer in 2019. I made it. I'm so excited. I got through 2018. I got a little bumps and bruises on me. I got a little cold, but I'm fighting and I'm ready for another amazing year in America, where you've got all different types of news stories just scattered all over the place. Globalism, independence, nationalism, supremacy, everything right here. The show is getting interesting, and it's getting the ups and downs, the climax, the resolution. But that's what I'm here for, to give you some clarity, to give you some understanding of what's happening in the media and in the news, give you the top 8 headlines and developing news stories every week with my own government paycheck. That my little bitty money. Like I said, if you want to contribute anyway during the show, if you want to contribute during the show, you can go to METHOD8INC.com, methodinc.com. You can buy something, click on something, watch something, or just read something, or you just sponsor a program during the show. Just like I said, this is the Mediator with me, Brian West. I give you the top 8. If your signal is not clear enough, you can go to www.600wsom.com and you can listen to tune in online, or you can just tune in the show. I usually upload it to the website during the week, so you can go to METHOD8INC.com. METHOD8INC.com. You can just listen during the week when it's uploaded, or you just listen to past shows as well. So, or you just buy something, click on something, watch something, or just read something to show some support. I'm in the office from 10 to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, and I'm at 5648 Market Street, just offering services like ink refilling, buying and selling and trading products, music distribution, wedding, event planning, performing arts packages, photography, all different types of things that comes along with just dealing with just intellectual property, the media, broadcasting, videos. I mean, just a lot of things. And like I said, we're headed in a different direction in 2019. A lot going on. New Democratic House of House, and we've got Trump still not. So let's get to the top 8 real quick. Let me read the disclaimer real quick. If you're not familiar, these top 8 stories are only documented for records and to highlight topics for those in the business of talk radio, talk media, and those who just want to stay informed. Now, folks, let's get to the top 8 really quick. If I sound a little undertone today, it's because I have a little sinus infection, but I'm strong, and I'll rise up, rise like today, even with a sinus hanging. I'm ready to go. Story number 1. Folks, the body of men and women may be the same, but is there something different going on with their brain? This is story number 1 that made it in. That, folks, the story crept in because the role of men, there's just so much going on. I hear people talking about, I agree with science, and I agree, but there's something happening when it comes to males and females, and I think with there was a, if there's just so much going on when you have women now and they're able to do things that they were not able to do years ago. Even in some countries, they're still not able to drive. They're not able to get equal pay. So in this country, you're starting to see the ripple effects where some guys just cannot live without a female around, and they're starting to commit suicide. They need that feminine touch, that feminine love, and it's starting to create some type of a different flow. And I think the older generation is a little bit concerned about the new generation, because the marriage rates, people is the idea of marriage and the unity between men and women is changing. And it's not like the relationships are not lasting as long as they used to. I mean, you got people who've been married for maybe 50, 60 years, sometimes even longer than that. And now you got a new generation where that even when you look at the job market, you got women working, they're pulling a lot of weight, they're having to take care of children, and they're having to work a 9-to-5 job. So, and then you look at the way the brain is made up. So now you're starting to see and like I said, I always try to stay in the middle of what's happening, and people are starting to see things from a different light now because they're trying to adapt to this, especially alpha males, males who are or like to be in charge or like to be like to run things. So you're starting to see an environment, and some men are starting to not want to be around women on the workroom floor because they feel like it's a threat to their empire. So women are having to go out and do things themselves. They're having to go out and start their own businesses, and so things are changing, and some people say it's science, and some people say it has nothing to do with science. But folks, in mediation with the mediator, I'm here to enlighten you that there's something happening. There's something changing with the brain chemistry of males and females, and it's something happening, and it's happening because of the fact that there's so many new feminine, or this it's starting to even itself out, especially when you talk about like relationships. There was a story about a family where they're not even married, where I think the boyfriend, it was a local story that made it in the news, where the boyfriend put sugar in his I guess in the car tank, and the car was, so they got in an argument, and I guess the police came by. So there's all these stories going on. Then there was another story that made it in where a guy who was on the job, a doctor, they said that he texted his wife and family at home and said that he was going to come home and kill him. So there's something happening with the brain chemistry when males are feeling threatened, and some males are starting to pretty much they're starting to act in different ways. They're starting to get aggressive, and women are caught. So I don't want to say they're causing this, but something is happening in the atmosphere. It's changing the chemistry. It's changing the way we think. Even myself, I had a nice little intimate relationship years ago when I was married, and I noticed that sometimes things change. So this is what's happening, and this is why this story crept into the top 8, because something is changing the behavior of male and females, and males are getting very aggressive. There's even some stories about some males killing their families. Because there was another story that I came across where a guy took his girlfriend's pets and threw them over the balcony because he said that she loved her pets more than she loved him. So, folks, there's a number of stories where we're starting to see some very strange things happening. I did a little bit of research on how there's been all these theologies about certain types of males and certain types of women who come to Earth. You can even look at you watch movies like Wonder Woman, and you see how is there really some type of other world godliness where people are entering the womb into this atmosphere to change things around? Is there something going on? You may hear stuff like this talked about on late night radio, but I thought it was an interesting topic. And you look at some of the things that women are doing. Like, there was a woman who got food stamps while running a $1 million business. So you look at some of these things that are happening. A Florida man accused of shooting his wife, his in-laws, after seeing video of her cheating with his best friend. So when you hear that, you can even look at people refer to the Bible, still a hot topic. The Bible talks about how in the beginning the male took off the fruit because the female, so when you see this stuff, and it is coming in a new age environment, people are sitting back, especially biblical scholars and people who are into the dynamics of human behavior, psychologists, people who ask, why are you doing this? Why are people committing suicide? People need love, folks, and they need it in some of the most unexplainable ways. Everybody needs to feel loved. And that's what I'm here to do in the Mediator. I'm here to give you some love with a little bit of information that may tickle your brain. You may go and listen to the radio every week, and you may hear about politics, but I'm here to give you a sense of everything in one show. And tuning you into the reality of the situation. And the reality is the fundamentals of life. Everybody needs love, folks. And even if you can't get it from another radio host, call on me, the mediator, to save the day. Folks, there's been also some things going on in the jungles of Baltimore, and I guess in D.C. they're saying that there's been a spike in homicides. Folks are people are killing each other. There's also been a downturn in Chicago when you talk about just human behavior in general. So there's some things happening in the atmosphere. Like I said, if you want to contribute anyway, you can go to method the number 8 inc.com, method80.com. You're in the meeting with me, Brian West, where I give you the top 8 headlines developing news stories that made it throughout the week. I'm only here to give you what you need, and that's to be informed, something to understand, something to lash on to, something to open your eyes so you could smell the flowers and go about your day understanding that there's things that are happening in the world that can make sense. If you need somebody to make sense of it, then you're tuned into the right show, folks. You're tuning into the Mediator with me, Brian West. Like I said, if you want to contribute anyway, method the number 8 inc.com, method80.com, where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, or just read something. I'm in the office from 10 to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. If you want to come and utilize our service to everything goes right back into the community. My work, my life has been devoted to just serving. I have nothing else to do. I love myself. I love myself. I love my family. But I've chosen to stay out. Well, maybe there's somebody will come from the clouds, and a woman one day will sweep me off my feet. But until that day, I'm devoted to the radio atmosphere. So if you want to contribute anyway, you want to help out, method the number 8 inc.com, method80.com, where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, or just read something to show us some support. It does not take that much. Or you can utilize our service during the week. We're at 5648 Market Street in Boardman, Ohio, and you can we offer ink refills, counseling, consulting, buying, selling, trading, digital music distribution, wedding planning, photoshops, photos, all types of different things to keep people informed. We deal with theater, movies, just all different types of things that deal with intellectual property. We're going to get to story number 2. Folks, story number 2, why some people refuse to believe in any hype surrounding Donald Trump. Folks, the president he is not backing down from this border wall. And you may hear a lot of different opinions, a lot of different ideas surrounding this administration. But the question we have to ask ourselves as Americans, is there something the Republican Party, is there something the Pentagon, is there something that the White House is not telling us? Is there something? Is there a reason why this wall is so important? Because if you spend $5 billion and you spend $25 billion, the U.S. national debt has increased $2 trillion since Trump took office. So now the Democrats are trying to impeach the president, and they're asking for 10 years of the president's tax returns. And there's just been a lot of hype surrounding President Trump. President Trump's idea, or just the motivation to put President Trump in the White House, comes from years and years of Americans being fed up with Washington D.C. Now, don't ask me where these illusions come from, but people in this country have been fed up with the system, the norm of things. So they called on, I'm pretty sure, President Trump, and they elected this guy to be the president. So now you have there's some realities going on. You just had Michelle Obama. She just published a book, and there's some rebuttals out there. There's some people who are, when you talk about Saul Alinsky, and you talk about the theology and the idea of how government has to be in everybody's life, and there's been a push for years of people wanting to downsize government. So what you're seeing, some of this stuff may be new to people, but people have been fed up with this system and the abuse of government for a long time. You look at how China has grown, and you look at how it has grown into a global force, and you look at how brutal the communist regimes of China can be. The people over there are they're not like it is. It's not like it is in America. So right now you're seeing a battle in America where people who actually understand what's been happening in government and how government has been corrupted. So when you look at this presidency, this is almost like a protest from the people who have been watching and keeping an eye on this system for a long time. And if I can make sense of this administration, this administration has nothing to do with the normal play of Washington D.C. This administration is about a rebellion by the Republican people, but not just by Republicans, but by informed citizens who have been fed up with Washington D.C. And if you do not have a leg, or you do not know what's going on, folks, people have been watching. They know that Americans are not informed. A lot of them do not know what's going on. They know that people have been abusing the system. They know that people have been taking advantage of the system. When you look at this border issue, people just what there are some Americans who are screaming, and they're tired of the same old games, the same. When you talk, even when you look at the enlightenment of fake news stories, and how people understand things. So this is what's happening, and it's creating a civil unrest right now, because those Americans who understand and who have been studying these politicians, they studied the Obama administration, they watched the Clintons, and they know how this game is played. So they've found ways they're screaming, and they're fighting to get people on the same level. But right now it's hard to adapt, because people are so used to getting fed. We're so used to having things a certain way. So who knows how 2019 is going to turn out when you talk about this hype around this administration. I'm telling you, this has nothing to do with Trump. This is business for those who have been trying to get a people's attention for years. This is, if you go back even to the Reagan administration, even to the days when you had the abolitionist movement in the civil rights era, folks, people have been trying to get the attention of people in the slums of America, people who have, when you talk about gentrification, this is a reality check. And I'm just letting you know that there are some people, even when you talk about Jim Crow laws and all of the filth that came along with getting people to work together and getting more minorities to the table, and getting the system to how it is today. When you talk about voting, so even in the assassination of Martin Luther King, which is I believe is this month, the holiday. So you see all of this coming together, and some people still don't have a clue of what's going on. They think some of these politicians or some of these main figures are their friends, and that people have evidence. They have violent material showing that there's been abuse of power. And if you do not understand how this president got elected, then you may want to get up to speed on what is actually happening in the United States of America. And this is what's happening. So if you want to contribute anyway, METHOD, the number 8, INC.com. You're in the meeting with me, Brian West. I give you the top 8 headlines developing news stories that made it throughout the week. We're almost at the halfway point. Well, we've been through 2 stories. I'm going to get to story number 3 in a sec. Like I said, if you want to contribute in any way, you can go to METHOD, the number 8, INC.com, methodating.com, where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, or just read something if you want to show some support. A lot going on in America right now where there's actually really a war going on. There's a mental war going on where people are trying to get people's attention, and they're trying to get people to understand, trying to get people to participate, trying to get people to be a little bit more aware of their surroundings, trying to get people involved with government, trying to get people out to vote. Let's get to story number 3. The restructuring of the workforce and why some have a goal to downsize the federal government. Folks, there was a I don't know if for people who actually been keeping an eye on things, I'm sure they remember ALEC. And ALEC was, I believe it was an agenda to reform the workroom floor, mainly, and you had, I think it's the right to work laws. So when you see the U.S. adds jobs, 312,000 jobs, and unemployment rises to 3.9%. You have to understand. My thing is I have to get you to understand why story number 3 made it into the top 8 when you talk about the workroom floor. These plans, these corporate plans, have been in the making for a long time, and they have been able to monitor and have been able to keep track of just how their profits. If you look at the way economists are predicting a recession right now, this is what is happening in America right now. The battle of all of these things that have been taking place, and this abuse that have been taking place over the years, where you've had people in working, even filing claims, false claims, and getting affected on the job. And so there's so much happening when you talk about the restructuring of the workforce. Corporations are not giving away as much. Let's take this back a few years ago, back in the 80s, when you had the tech booms and you had the fresh brand new ideas. Then you had all these regulations, all of these, all of a sudden asbestos became a problem, and all of these chemicals that people couldn't be around, and you had things happening or changing. So what you're seeing now is an administration saying we need to get back to the idea of human employment, or trying to get people back into the workforce, the manufacturing. But you have some people who have systematically, I guess the best way to pull it is, if you go through your neighborhood, especially like a place like Youngstown, and you see all of these once family-owned stores no longer there, you see a big, huge corporate-run machine move into your neighborhood. And if you don't have enough sense to start thinking to yourself like, wait a minute, there used to be a store on the corner right there. There used to be a store right there. There used to be a business right there. And if you have not caught on to how or why this game needs to be played fair, some people do not want to work for other people. But what we're seeing now is people have no choice because they're being bought out. So now if you have a new generation who do not know how to work for themselves, or who do not know how to empower themselves or work because they've been living off. You can go to some of these cities that have been governed and run by certain politicians who enjoy seeing people live off of their people. If you elect a politician and they do not want to give you or get you to understand the system of owning your own land, if you have been taxed out of everything, you take this back years ago in certain situations where some people were in the community and they had family-owned businesses, family-owned operations. The system of small businesses booming. This is what. Forget all this craziness about what's been happening and how things are going right now. The game, or the way people have been trying to get people to understand is you need to own your own stuff. I went to school for business, so I've tried to stay I've had to stay in my own lane because I've had to try to build my own things because I know what's happening. I've had to use my own money in many situations. But when you have people around you who don't understand that mentality, who don't understand, who think that everybody's being greedy or it's a sin for a man to have his own property or to own his, there's something wrong with people's mindsets. If people are envious because you're out trying to make your own money or own your own land, this is what we're facing right now. People think that there's that people who want to own or operate their own, that's the way it should be. We should not have to see too big to fail or where you see when one company comes in and they just decide to shut down and everybody, all hell breaks loose because there's not enough tax bases inside the communities. If these politicians are not being active or going out trying to get people, the banks are not giving, banks should be able to give people money. The system, that's the way it's supposed to be. But people are losing business because of each administration comes in, they have these agendas, and the next thing you know, they're changing things around. You can't keep up. So this is what's happening. You see, they say that payrolls rose by 2.6 million last year compared to 2.2 million in 2017. This is the battle that's taking place. Americans are trying to take back what's theirs, what's in the Constitution, their own rights as human beings. Hundreds of TSA screeners working without pay, calling out sick at major airports. It's 2019 and we're still faced with these problems. We should be flying in cars right now, reaching the depths of space. We've been in decline, and this is what the problem is. Nobody likes to be in decline after you've worked so hard. You've got all these students going to school. They work so hard, and they come out, they have no jobs. Nothing has changed. This is the reality. When people don't have jobs, they go get on crack. They get depressed. They have all these babies. It's got nothing to do. It's just the reality of the situation. When people don't have money, they do stupid things because all that idle time. And when you look at this, Trump says he's talking about his the economy under him, but actually, I think the best economy was after the major wars. But still, some economists are predicting, they're saying that there's going to be a recession. And will it fall on the hands of this administration because of the fact, I mean, the guys, to me, I look at this administration and the guy has got potential. You had the whole house. You had the whole. If you would have had this much power as a president, and if you didn't screw it up yourself by saying some of the most craziest things, then you'd be fine. I think he'd be all right now. But the guy just basically just goes on this rant about things that have nothing to do with governing. You know, I don't. You got all these personal vendettas. It's a reality show. But the policies, obviously, he must have an idea. But some people are saying this is going to collapse, or the tax cuts, the debt going up. We've got to start trying to get back into the black. Story number 4, real quick. I said, if you want to contribute, let me shout this out before I get to story number 4. I can't deprive myself. I've been working pretty hard to Mediator, every week. So if you want to contribute anyway, mbthod@inc.com, methodating.com, where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, or just read something. I'm in here every week giving you top 8 stories. So if you want to help out anyway, all you have to do is go to the website, method8inc.com, where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, or just read something, or you can just sponsor a program. You can also utilize our services during the week. I'm there Monday through Friday, 10 to 6 p.m. At 5648 Market Street in Mormon, Ohio, and I just offering my services to the community, doing all different types of things, tech consulting, web consulting, just anything that deals with intellectual property, buying, selling, trading online or in stores, digital music distribution, wedding planning, performing arts, and photo shoots. I mean, photo shooting, just dealing with all different types of things, any different aspects. Let's get to story number 4 real quick because this is an important story. Story number 4 that crept in about racial issues. How are racial issues staying in the news? And this is why I think that what you're seeing happening in this country right now, and the fact that racial issues, when people are concerned about minorities, people, I'm concerned about my own family, my own because racial issues will stay. You just had Pittsburgh Steelers receiver, and he called his ex-teammate an Uncle Tom after criticism. If you do not understand, African Americans have always used insults like this to insult other African Americans, and whenever. But if you don't understand the roots of slavery, or you don't understand how Italians or Puerto Ricos or Latinos or Mexicans, if you don't understand how they have to migrate into a country where the majority is not there, they're basically a minority. So you get these images of people who start to mingle with other races, and they start to better themselves. They start to get a better life, and they leave a lot of things behind. They leave a lot of people behind because they just don't have a lot of resources. So people have been trying to even the scales for years. You had Martin Luther King. You had just many different types of figures throughout history who have tried to get people to understand the state of just the importance of getting an education and understanding how the system works to better yourselves. So we're in a state right now to where you have just so many people. I think blacks are getting frustrated, especially blacks who become athletes. You see these things happening where these athletes are starting to voice when you see guys like Colin Kaepernick kneeling down at the national anthem, and you see these things happening. I think race and because of the history of the United States will be the downfall of so many great things that can be accomplished in this country right now. And when you see stories like this, and you see 17 black female judges being appointed, being sworn in Texas, and you see police unions defending cops using the N-word, no matter what, white or black, and you see blacks constantly calling each other the N-word. Some scholars, especially when it comes to things like religion and just blacks bettering themselves, are very concerned about minority communities, and it's becoming such a big story. It probably will be a bigger story in 2019 because of the fact that you have so many people being left behind in these communities. The state, if I can be concerned about any community during a recession or during the downturn of the economy, I would be concerned about the minority community, because story number 4 probably will not go anywhere as long as you have things. Not even just minorities, but there are a lot of Caucasian people who are suffering as well because of the fact that you have this racial divide. And if we can get this thing together, if people can understand just the importance of how great we could probably be if things could operate or function properly. But you probably will see story number 4 continue to gain some steam, especially in 2019, if things continue to take a. But when you have wealthy, I think these guys are getting frustrated because they're probably tired. They're probably tired of people always putting race in the mix. and they're probably tired of people pulling the race card. Why can't an African American own a business without having people coming in and talking about all types of conspiracies? Why can't Latino, so this is a real issue, and this is why story number 4 crept in. Let's get to story number 5 real quick. We're past the halfway point, and I have to get through the top 8 so you can understand. But story number 4 is a very I see that story gaining some steam because people are shouting out racial. I mean, it's just becoming a problem, and the thing is that when when you were born with nothing, and you have to rely on some type of government incentive, or you could be white, black, it doesn't matter. You look up to certain things. You don't have the whole structure. You don't have everything. You have to. And some people have work ethics. Some people go out of work, but some people don't have the same mindset as everybody else. Some of these people fall into addiction. They don't know who to talk to. So this is the reality. And when you talk about governing, these are citizens. These are people. When you look at the Mexicans, people don't understand why they're constantly trying to get across the border. Some of them are just trying to get across the border so they can feed their families. So this is what's happening, and you're seeing it take center stage here in America as usual. But it's happening in America because this is the culture of this country. It's a melting pot. It's been this way since the founding of this nation. People have come here for help. People have come here to seek refuge. People have many generations, years, immigrants. I mean, that's just the way this country have been founded. So story number 4 probably will gain a lot of steam in 2019. Let's get to story number 5 real quick. Government behind the new generation. Folks, there is real quick, if you want to contribute before I get to the depths of story number 5, you can go to MBTHOD, the number 8, INC.com, where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, or just read something. You're in the meeting with me, Brian West, and I give you the top 8 headlines developing news stories that made it throughout the week. Story number 5, a government behind the new generation. Yes, this new generation is not, they're not as stupid as everybody claims them, or they're not as lazy as everybody says. Some people say they are. This new generation is trying, and when you see it happening with government is trying to bond or create policies that will make basically keep the country afloat for this new generation. But when you have things like healthcare, you have technology, you have a less working jobs, you have machines on the workroom floor, the new generation is having a hard time earning capital. And unless you have a day where the wealthy just all of a sudden just take all of their money and invest it back into new businesses for new generation, you're going to see. I seen a tweet a few weeks ago saying, I guess a guy was disgusted because he's seeing all these talented people having to work for one company. Folks, the new generation, they're not as bad as everybody may be rapping about. These are actually very smart people. Some of them have been in college. Some of them have just don't know what to do. The system is based off of money. Back in the old days, you could start a business. You had the banks, the loan. They would give you the money. You would be able to go get a loan, and you would get approved, or you had family members who would be working with you. Now some people just don't have that family base. Their families don't have a lot of money. They're stuck. They have nowhere to go. They get in a bad relationship. So some people are even just a heartbeat away from being homeless. So you're starting to see the government is trying, but the center of attention is on what everything is going. Governing needs to go back to, if people could get to the basis, back to just taking care of the communities and getting people out of this mindset that everything is always the president's fault. So if people could just get back to the basics, we probably would be fine. But government has regulated, I mean, everything. Everything is run by one central system. So story number 5, when you talk about even when you talk about regulating technology, the fact that everybody's a journalist now. This stuff wasn't thought of years ago. I was talking to I publish books. I was telling some authors, I say, years ago you were not able just to go online just to publish a book. You had to go through systems. You had to get a deal. You had to write synopses. And now you could just upload things. You could get a business license right online. You could go to places. You could go to online services. So things have changed, and you're seeing an older generation trying to keep up, and a newer generation just trying to collect as much chips as they can so they don't fall behind. And a lot of them are educated too. They want good jobs, good paying jobs. Some of them are in college. They have college debt. So we have to ask ourselves, how will this be 20 years from now if we keep going at the pace we are going? When you've got just people hijacking Twitter accounts with or just going into people's accounts, taking their information, or you've got just the lack of government government just being able to regulate tech companies. I mean, I just think government cannot keep up. They've got too many problems. I mean, you look at what's happening right now with this big wall thing. Right now, this administration, just by shutting down the government, we're being set back probably about a whole year. So nobody knows how this is going to turn out. Let's get to story number 6. Science may be altering the course of human behavior. Yes, science has changed so much. Like I said, back in the day, people were more concerned about religion, more concerned about human ethics, but science has changed a lot of things. If you did not hear, China successfully landed a spacecraft on the far side of the moon. So there was a U.S. spacecraft that caught some pictures of a distant object in our solar system. So science is changing. Back when I was in school, they thought it was just probably 9 planets, or so things are changing as time goes on, and in different beliefs where things are becoming normal. Like people are starting to have normal behavior to do things that were forbidden years ago. So this is creating a culture and a different mindset in just on a global environment. And I can honestly believe that some people would not be able to survive if they had a power outage for about a whole month. So the system, things are changing, folks, and that was the whole purpose of this show today, was to try to grab stories to get you to understand that the normal society is trying to keep up with the advancing and the teching of the science. I mean, when you have stories about people altering genes or going into the far depths of space, or back in the day, the biggest story was the moon landing. It couldn't be done. Now people are launching satellites into space all the time. So it's like things are becoming more advanced, and there's just a part of society that just cannot keep up. They're so used to bread and water. You look at how the fundamentals of just human behavior is changing. This is a reality. It's affecting governing. You can see it happening when you've got a 72-year-old man who's used to land and the old school way of doing things, and I mean got a different style of language, and just the way government and civilians interact. So this is what's happening. It is my duty as a mediator to try to make sense of this all, so you can understand why things are happening the way they are. I've made it my supreme duty, folks. In the middle of the night, I can hear the voice of something happening, and the Almighty, something telling me to get on the radio to discuss these things, these issues, so there can be calmness in the air, and there can be some light shine, so we can solve these problems. And this is they've even got it where we could slam a spacecraft into an asteroid. So things are changing, and they're changing in an awkward manner, and you're seeing it happening in the environment, as people are going about their daily lives, especially the old school mixing with the new school. I said, if you want to contribute anyway, METHOD, the number 8, INC.com, methodinc.com. You're in the Mediator with me, Brian West, where I give you the top 8 headlines and developing news stories that made it throughout the week. I'm not bashing anybody today. I'm giving you what's happening, making sense of the situation. I'm not criticizing. I'm not arguing. It's all about mediation. Looking at both sides of the coin and staying in the middle. That's saying that there's peace and happiness if we can get this thing right. War only solves a few things, and that just may be there may be a few less people at the dinner table. But at the end of the day, it only creates tears. In mediation, I'm here for you. I'm here to give you something to lash on to, something to be excited about, a feeling of life, folks, love in the Mediator. If you want to contribute anyway, METHOD, the number 8, INC.com, methodinc.com, where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, or just read something. I'm at 5648 Market Street. I'm there from 10 to 6 Monday through Friday. If you want to come by and give us some service, you get some services, or buy something, or you can buy, sell, trade. I'm there Monday through Friday. Now we're about to get to the top 2 stories that made it to the Mediator this week. And the top story, number 7, one of the top stories is how mental illness keeps creeping into the news. There's been a lot of things going on with mentally ill patients. And I talked about this at the beginning of the show, where the human behavior is changing. And you're starting to see the effects. There was a movie, I don't know if you remember Planet of the Apes, where Planet of the Apes is, I mean, whoever wrote it, he had an idea of where we would be headed if humans lost their intellect, if we lost the creative minds that we have to try to be innovative, to try to adapt to our surroundings, to I wouldn't say evolve, but to basically to be what we are today with intellect. And the reality is that some people cannot keep up. And when you have so much hate being spewed out, and you have people arguing, and you have different just things that people feed on to, like people start believing some things, and they become mentally ill. And they start to do things that are just unusual. Like they had a guy, I guess they were talking about a story where a guy pulled out his Jimmy Johnson and peed on the subway. Now, everybody around him probably thought it was unnatural, but probably in the caveman days, he probably would have been said, "Oh, this guy's good. He's normal." But now, people look at things like when people are homeless, they're out on the street. They look at that as being a different, but you have to look at the state of mind that some people are in. Some people are taking medications, and they're not able to take their medications. So when you look at story number 7 and why mental illness is such a big thing, it's because that some people just cannot keep up with all of this stuff, this stuff, and they need a place to go to get back, or and as human beings are becoming so self-centered that they're not as giving, and they don't want to find as many solutions to these problems like they used to. So now we're starting to see people are becoming more homeless. I think there was even in Youngstown, they said the eviction rates are up. So people are losing the battle when it comes to having a normal, basic life. And I think that story number 7 will probably, if I'm hoping it stays, because mental illness is a big thing. I remember even when I was in the military, I lost some mental cognitive. I lost some brain power, and it was a sad situation. It was very embarrassing. So you're starting to see this happening in a society now, but people are becoming just so ignorant that they're not understanding what's actually happening. And the reality is that the mental illness is a serious issue. And when people are not taking their medicines, they don't have the resources, the things that people take for granted every day. This story probably will stay in the news. Let's get to story number 8, the final story, the top story that made it to the Mirror this week. What's really behind Trump's demand for a border wall? Folks, story number 8 is a big story, because when you talk about this border wall, we have a shutdown going on with the government, and it's a big thing because these federal employees are not getting paid, but Trump is not backing down from this wall, and there's got to be a reason, and people want to know what the reason is why people are giving their tax dollars and these people are not working. You have national parks, trash building up. Folks, this is the United States of America. This is probably one of the most, I mean, dynamic, adaptive governments you will probably ever see. But right now, you're when you have Washington looking almost third world, and you have monuments that people have invested in, and they're filled with trash, national parks. Folks, this is bad business for the Trump administration. And if this guy doesn't, if somebody does not come to the table and figure out why or what's the big, and he's saying it's because there's drugs being channeled in, because we need a wall at the border. I'm just being realistic. Every nation that has built a wall, years later, that wall has either been torn down, there's been a hole put through it, but this president has it in his mind that he needs this wall, and he has put he's saying it's the Democrats' fault, but somebody. This is all I know is we are in the 20th. This is 2019. We're almost at 2020, and there are federal workers who don't. People cannot pay their bills, and if you do not know what it's like to not have the money to pay your bills, it is embarrassing. It hurts, and it can be. When it comes to morale, it can really be a heartbreaker when you find out you cannot pay up. And I've been through it my entire life because I come from the minority community where my family we have not been born into wealth. My family, most of them, a lot of them are drug, or some of them are on drugs. Some of them have been incarcerated. So I'm just a paycheck away myself from being in a situation. But I've had to sacrifice. So when you have government employees and in the United States of America living like, or feeling almost like they're about to be headed to a third world state of mind, folks, this is serious. And you have an administration. This is big things. There was even, I think, the Mexican president is proposing a free zone to attract investment to reduce migration to the United States. Something has to be done. Some deal has to be made with just these countries, because I understand what the president is saying about these countries have been taking advantage of the United States. They have. Look at China right now. You cannot tell me that China just all of a sudden created. No, there's evidence that China has been ruthless. There's evidence that these countries have been stealing United States secrets. But you can't blame. You have to blame the business structure. You have to blame the businesses, the United States businesses, for going over there. But right now, we need somebody who can govern, who can lead. And right now, this is when you're using tear gas at the border. That's not good, folks. Some local stories that made it in. That was story number 8. The top story, the border issues. That story is staying at the top. It's staying in the news because it's causing a lot of problems. And I don't see that story leaving. Some local issues, stories that made it in. Dominion Foundation gives $5K to Second Harvest Food Bank. Mahoning County is zooming in on its high eviction rate. A GM supplier is set to close as a result of GM downsizing. This is a ripple effect from GM. Local dance teacher, he's going to offer new classes for underprivileged youth. And Valley unemployment rate fell in November. Folks, we're headed somewhere. And right now, all I know is that there's a reality setting in, and people are wondering where we're going as a country, where we're going as a world. And resources, they're saying, are drying up, but people have to get smarter. We have to get back into the game. We have to stay on track in 2019, because if we don't, somebody could be lost. Like I said, if you want to contribute anyway, you can go to METHOD, the number 8, INC.com, method80.com, where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, or just read something. I want to thank you for tuning into the meeting this week with me, Brian West. It's where I give you the top 8 headlines developing news stories. And I said it's my supreme duty to come here every week. So if you want to contribute anyway, you go to METHOD, the number 8, INC.com, method80.com, where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, or just read something. I'm about to be headed out of here. I want to thank you for a great show. And those are the top 8 stories, top 8 headlines. And like I said, we have to find a way to keep things together. And in the Mediator, I have to give you those top 8 stories that will keep you understanding what's important and staying informed. I want to thank you so much for tuning into the Mediator this week. And like I said, keep an eye on what's happening in the news. Keep an eye on your family and friends. And most of all, keep an eye on the Mediator. Have a good week, everybody, and show some love. Have a good week. Thank you for tuning to the Mediator with me, Brian West.
If you need help, then dial your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is